Doop doop doo bow. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to episode 7 of Jive Talkin with Shane D, or Shane Diablo. I did not put one up last week. The reason for that is because I got the big C. That is right. I don't know how I got it. I've got my theories. I think I got it at the Opeth Mastodon concert. That's neither here nor there. It wasn't their damn fault, but yeah, I got it, and it was pretty horrible. So I don't know if you're a masker, a non-masker, a vaxxer, a non-vaxxer, whatever, but I'm telling you, protect yourself from that shit because it is not good. It's like the worst flu that I have ever had in my life. I am getting better. You're going to notice in the Sunday videos, and perhaps a little bit in this upcoming week's videos, that I'm a little still stuffy in the head. That shit kicked me in the balls. Hardcore. With that being said, I will never go anywhere ever again without the mask. I did read an article that said something about if you get the breakthrough case. I did get the vaccinations. I didn't get the booster, but if you get the breakthrough case, they're saying now that studies are showing you might get a super immunity. And that's really what I want, because I never want to have that again. I got a pretty good immune system. I haven't been like head cold or head sick in, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. So when this stuff got me, it got me good. But we're washing ourselves. Pretend you're washing my back. You're scrubbing me down really good. We're washing that away. We're getting on with the Jive Talkin episode 7. I'm unsullied now. I'm dirty. I'm a dirty soul. But this struck me right off the bat, you know. Sammy Hagar recalls Pantera's manager inquiring about interest in joining the band. That just seems like the worst. I mean, this is like a multiverse kind of a situation where Sammy Hagar is singing for Pantera. It's just something that I do not believe. I wanted to get into this story, but just imagine this for a moment. There's a young Rex Brown. Is that his name, Rex Brown? And there's Dimebag. Let's pretend there's Dimebag. And here you go. They're doing one of them choo-choo train things. In those pants. I used to have those pants. I'm not proud of that, but I used to have a couple of pairs of those pants, and I thought these are very comfortable to wear, other than if you get some kind of an erection or something and it looks like a teepee. But Sammy Hagar, let's read this and see what Sammy's got to say about it. Sammy Hagar famously became Van Halen's second vocalist after David Lee Roth, who's now doing his final shows there in Las Vegas, exited the group for a solo career. But Hagar says there have been other opportunities through his life where a similar situation would have possibly included an inquiry about the interest of after Pantera's split with Phil Anselmo. Hagar recalled the incident while chatting with Sirius XM host Jose Mangan, while sitting in Dimebag Darrell and Vinnie Paul's refurbished limousine. Hagar sheds some doubt on the validity of the possibility of joining Pantera, but does state that a conversation was had with the band's then manager, where it was expressed that the brothers had interest in him taking over for Anselmo. I don't understand that. How about if I tell you something crazy? I don't believe it. I don't believe it's true, started Hagar. Well, anyone can start that way, right? But Pantera had a manager. This was before I actually became friends with Vinny. And the manager said, Pantera, he said, wanted me to be the lead singer of the band. And he asked me, would you be interested? According to Hagar, he said no, citing that after his 1996 split with Van Halen, he wasn't interested in similar situations. I'm not going to join another band, especially covering for somebody else, and this and that. You know, he's got that Cabo Wabo down there. He gets to play with everyone. Anyone that wants to go down to Cabo Wabo can play with Sammy Hagar all they want. The vocalist said that he later spoke with Vinnie Paul about the conversation he'd had with the manager, but the drummer didn't recall it, which makes him wonder how serious the discussion of his joining. It's probably a goof. It was probably a silly goof on Sammy Hagar that they were doing there, because Name me a couple people that you think would be good in the spot of Phil Anselmo. It wouldn't be Sammy Hagar, as far as I know, right? That's when they loved each other. When Eddie puts his head on the back of Sammy Hagar and his shoulder blades there, that shows love. What was that other hit they had? What is love? So Sammy Hagar may have joined Pantera. What would that be like? Huh? What do you think of that? I saw this article too here. Kiss, Tommy Thayer. He says, my legacy will be a guy who came in, worked hard, and was the glue that kept the band together. I don't know that that's that far off the mark, right? They need someone. I've always noticed that Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley have kind of a rough love-hate kind of a relationship. So maybe he was the sweet boy that came in and kept them together. In a new interview with Guitar World, Kiss guitarist Tommy Thayer was asked what he thinks his legacy will be with Kiss. He responded, I don't know if many people realize this, but I've been the lead guitarist in Kiss longer than any other Kiss guitar player. But I will always be known as the new guy. Though, no matter what happens, I'm the Ronnie Wood of Kiss. Ronnie Wood, that's the Rolling Stones guy? The fifth guy to come in? Here's Tommy going on. My legacy will be a guy who came in, worked hard, and was the glue that kept the band together for a long period of time. I think the kind of career and personality that I have is that of a team player and somebody who can bring people together and bind things together. So it is like glue. If you can bind things together, then you are a lot like glue. And I think the reason that we've done so well and so consistently in the last 20 years is because of my personalities. Not his personalities, because 20 years is because of the personalities. The give and take, the ability to, the give and take is Paul and Gene. They do all the taking, right? Wasn't that a thing where you had to be considered part of the Kiss Army? Wasn't it when Eric Carr passed, he wasn't a member, so after he passed away, they says, well, we're making you an official member of the Kiss Army, or whatever, right? They hold that very close to the chest. They love that, Congratulations, Eric, on your passing. I mean, not on your passing, but you've made it into the upper echelon of the Kiss Army, right? Let's see. It works well. I'd probably be the guy that has been in the band longer than anybody else besides Gene and Paul that kept things together and was the glue that made it work. I have to be honest. When I first came into the band, there was some pressure, Thayer said. It was kind of a no-win situation when you're replacing somebody like that. There's a lot of fans who are unhappy with this, and I understand. They followed the band for a long time, and it's hard to see things like that change sometimes. After a few years went by, I got more confident and more comfortable in the situation as time goes on. It continues to be a growing experience and something that I get more used to. For me, the paychecks would be something to get used to. I understand. Look, Tommy Thayer's from a fantastic band that I love called Black and Blue. I love Black and Blue. So I don't hate the feller, and I totally, if you want to slap that Peter Criss makeup on me, I'll get back there and do it. And I'll do it for scale wages. You know what I mean? You don't even have to offer me a cut of the pie or anything. You just give me a nice, healthy, well, Shane, if you play in this band, we're going to pay you $150,000 a year to travel the world and be in this band. I'm down. I'm down for that. There's plenty of perks that come along with that, right? So there you have that. What's this? About wearing Fraley's makeup. Ooh, okay. Thayer told Rolling Stone magazine that he had no discomfort about wearing Fraley's makeup. He explained, first of all, I didn't have any input on that. That was a decision that those guys made. There was not even a conversation about it because I think it was so obvious that they weren't going to introduce new characters 30 years into the band. I never thought that there should be some new design or something, I thought that would have been ridiculous. And the only thing is, you've got a lot of pushback from some of the diehards, and that's understandable. Hey, if you lived in the 70s and Kiss was your favorite band and that's what you grew up with, and suddenly there's another guy wearing the makeup, I can understand how some people, it might not have appealed to them as much. But as time has gone by, a lot of people have changed their mind. Yeah, he doesn't really have any say in that, does he? Does he have any say whatsoever in the fact that he had to put on that makeup? I always was under the impression they all came up with their own makeup, so I would be wondering why Ace Frehley doesn't own that makeup. And the only thing that I can surmise from that would be that Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley said, we need to copyright this stuff. While they were getting high on goofballs and all that, Gene and Paul were copyrighting all the trademarking, all the faces and everything else. So when Peter and Paul and Ace left, that was it. You don't even own the makeup that was on your face because while you were sleeping, we went and did this. Here's another bit of Kiss fun news. Paul Stanley says the Beatles' new documentary Get Back is joyous, astonishing, and humbling. I have not seen this yet. Have you seen the documentary? I guess it's like 8 hours long. Everyone's going on and on about it. Nowadays, you have to have an app on your, a paid app on your smart TV for any show that you want to watch. So I don't have the Disney Plus where I think this is available. And I have not seen this. I would love everyone to get in the comments below and tell me what they think of this Beatles documentary that Paul says it's joyous and astonishing and quite humbling. Kiss frontman Paul Stanley has praised director and producer Peter Jackson. Oh, he did that. Peter Jackson, he did The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and all that. And that's good stuff, right? I will be honest with you, I have watched the Lord of the Rings movies, but I fall asleep every single time I watch them. It's very peaceful. It's like the painting guy, Bob Ross. When you watch his show and you're just kind of sitting around watching it, you end up passing out because it's so calming and soothing. When you got a bunch of orcs and elves fighting each other and stuff, I don't know what it is. It's just soothing to me. Peter Jackson's The Beatles Get Back documentary, calling it eye-opening, joyous, astonishing, and humbling. He works for Entertainment Tonight or something on the side there. There's Paul Stanley. The 3-episode, nearly 8-hour documentary features the four members of the Beatles, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, crafting what was to become their final album. The Beatles recorded Let It Be before Abbey Road, but released the latter first. It also includes the band's iconic final performance on a rooftop in London. Yeah, I remember seeing that when they go, "Don't let me down, blang, blang, doom, doom." And I do remember seeing that. Stanley, who previously said that his life was changed forever after seeing the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. And a lot of rockers say that, right? The older generations, the stuff that we grew up on, like, just you name it, Twisted Sister, Kiss, Rush, just all of them old kind of 70s to 80s bands, they all say, oh man, it was all about goddamn, it was about seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. Really big show here. The Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1964 weighed in on the new documentary in a tweet Sunday. He wrote, "Wow, just watch the Beatles Get Back. Eye-opening, joyous, astonishing, and humbling. To the very end, their brilliance was without equal. The chemistry and magic between them is so powerful that seeing it end made me wish that much more they could have gone on forever." Huh? So powerful that seeing it end, made me wish that much more they could have gone on forever. Wow. Another thing that I heard from someone about this was saying, someone asked me, did you see this documentary? And they said that Yoko Ono's in it, but she's not this griping old lady that everyone went on about how she was ruining the band and she was noisy and she was putting in all these, This is set in the studio when they're recording all that stuff. And the person that I talked to said, yeah, she's sitting right there. She pipes up once or twice to go, John, do you want a spot of tea? Would you like a spot of tea, John? But she doesn't really inject herself in there. And if I was Peter Jackson and I was making a documentary about this, and there was a bunch of footage of her piping up, I'd put it in there. But everyone says that there's none of that. She's just quiet, and she knows that she's not the fifth Beatle or whatever the hell's going on with that, right? So what say you? Get in the comments and tell me what you think of it. I'd love to get your input on what you thought of that documentary if you have seen that. There's the Papa. There's Cardinal Copia. They don't have a bunch of new photos of him yet, but Ghost Tobias Forge explains why he likes touring so frequently, and they do. When they were a young, hungry band, man, he went on and on and on. Sometimes they come through twice in a year. I do have my tickets to go see Ghost, although I'm very leery about concert settings right now. But we've got our tickets to see them in January. It's going to be Volbeat, the Shotgun Blues. I listened to that album, the Volbeat album that they just released, and it's pretty good. A lot of people will say a lot of those songs sound the same, and they do. There's a similarity to it. But good stuff. It's toe tapping. I think that it's going to be a toss-up between, because it's a co-headlining Volbeat and Ghost, and it's going to be a toss-up to who throws down. Another thing about Ghost that I'm surprised at is about this time when they're getting ready to release a new album, they've already dropped one or two singles. So I'm wondering when exactly that's going to happen. It's got to happen here in the next week or two because the tour starts in January. So the new Papa 4's got to get on it. But let's see what Tobias, what he explains. Different bands have different touring routines. Some had out on the road for years at a time. Metallica's like that too. They will tour for 300 days of the year, when they don't have any new music to promote, while others only play shows after releasing a new album. Ghost have been touring pretty consistently for the last decade, and Tobias Forge has opened up and explained why he likes touring so frequently. What's this, the COVID thing? The COVID-19 pandemic forced many artists to go on break from touring, according to setlist.fm. Ghost's last official concert was in Mexico, right? March 3rd of 2020, but prior to that, they toured every year since 2010, so 2021 was the first year that they hadn't, and I think that was pretty much on a schedule, because as far as I knew, that last show where they premiered the new Papa Emeritus 4 was the final show. Then they were going to work on the album and everything, and he was talking about a 2022 tour. I'm trying not to be too business about this, and I'm definitely not throwing anyone under the bus here, but I think what bands are struggling with, and I know this because not only am I myself in a band or a project like this, but I also have a lot of friends who are in bands that have kind of different formations and different setups. There's not always a perfect alignment between what one guy in the band and the rest wants to do. It's not uncommon that you have someone in the band that might be a little more creatively occupied, writes more music than others, and sort of spends more energy on creating things, wanting to maybe play a little bit less, whereas you have people in the band that might not be the creative, but they depend on the paycheck and want the band to play more. Reading between the lines there, what Tobias is saying is, I write all of the music, so I'm the creative type. Everyone else that's in my band, or 95% of whoever else is in my band, they're hired guns that put the stuff on, and I tell them what to do and the songs to play. Of course, they want to play more because they're not getting the creative monies. Tobias gets the creative monies and you get the live performance monies, which is fine, you know. The vocalists argued that this concept is very common within bands and that there's nothing wrong with different people holding different roles and having varying goals. However, there does come a point where a group needs to decide whether they are in a band as a hobby or because they want it to be their career. Here's Tobias again. Disregard the COVID thing, but in modern times, there are a lot of bands that at some point or another have had to make the choice. We are a hobby band or we are a real band, like with touring. And usually that sets bands apart pretty quickly, because once you've sort of burnt the boat of having a daytime job, you're depending on money coming in. Yeah, the creative art types, they have to, they can live, kind of freewheeling style, and people that have to work jobs because they have families or payments to make. They don't have the opportunity to live in mom's basement and just be creative, you know. Here he is again. Some people love it. Some people, well, what's this say? The rocker explained that once a band becomes a person's full-time job, there's pretty similar cycle that they'll get into that a lot of bands share. Making records, going on tour, playing festivals in certain locations at certain times of the year. Bands like Korn and Metallica, well, not really Metallica, but bands like Korn and Slipknot and some of the bigger bands, what they will do is, especially Slipknot, because I've heard Corey Taylor talk about this, is you'll spend a year on an album and then you go out and do some touring on that album. But then you save a year, the following year or whatever, where you just do these big festival shows. A lot of money to be made, kablam, right there at the festival show. And then that following year, you're either back in the studio working on a new album or going out to do a full tour for the record that you had released. Does that make sense? That's what I've heard that a lot of them like to do. Marilyn Manson and stuff like that are like that. 1 year will just be festival tours. And then that way you can get away with putting an album out every 2 years or so. Some people love it. This is Tobias again. Some people love it. Some people do not. If I'm just speaking from my end, I've always to some degree lived a somewhat transient lifestyle. That means mom's basement. And I'm talking even going back to where I had divorced parents. I was naturally sort of always seeing a week-to-week sort of basis. And I had to travel and go away, come home, go away, come home. And then when I started having friends, when you get to that age where you start spending nights over at friends' houses, I found myself living on couches for years. If you want it, you got to make the moves. I've said this a lot. I have some friends that are amazing singers and amazing songwriters. And you have to go where it's happening, regardless of family, friends, friends that are in your band that aren't quite up to snuff or whatever. If you want that dream to happen, you have to put in the hours to do it. You have to put in the commitment to do it. And you have to get the hell out of wherever you're at and go to where you can be seen or you can perform with people that have the same idea as you. When I started touring, it felt very natural to be on tour. It's almost like having sea legs. If you like touring, it's hard not to like moving all the time. Yes, indeedy, there you have that. Mr. Forge, he's laying it all down there. And, that's not a cutload to anybody to say, well, you're living on couches or living meager means. It's just that's what you have to do. You have to take that seriously if you want to do it. You see these bands like Arcspire or whatever, they're driving around in a van. They're getting bigger, they're getting popular, they're whatever, but you got to get in that dirty, filthy van. You got to live in it. You got to do it for 6 to 8 months to 10 months a year. You got to be a constant, you got to be constantly doing it for your music. Couple more little stories here. I don't have any comments to look at because I did all those the last time around, and of course I missed that week. Cliff Burton, he got his shirt back, Dawn of the Dead shirt. And I wanted to read this because it has Mike Borden. He's the drummer for, I think he's with Ozzy now, but he's been the drummer for Faith No More for years. Faith No More's Mike Borden reunites Burton family with Cliff Burton's Dawn of the Dead t-shirt after 30 years. How would that be? Late Metallica bassist Cliff Burton was known fan of horror, both in music and in film, as evidenced by his Misfits tattoo, an iconic Dawn of the Dead shirt he wore on stage just months before his tragic death. Now, after 30 years, the t-shirt has been returned to the Burton family by Faith No More's drummer Mike Borden. What? How would he get that? The shirt's design is a replica of the legendary 1978 horror flick by director George A. Romero. He's the king of the zombies, right? Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Living Dead. And is one of the more highly regarded zombie films of all time and favorite of late Burton. The Burton family shared the news of the shirt's homecoming on Instagram and wrote a huge thank you to Mike Puffy Borden for bringing Cliff's original Dawn of the Dead shirt back home where it belongs. It's been a roller coaster of emotions, and we appreciate Mike and the person who kept it safe for us for 30 plus years. Now, before I read any more of this, I know that Jim Martin, the guitar player for Faith No More, was he jammed in high school with Cliff Burton. Could it be Jim Martin? This is like that 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. Could it be that Jim Martin handed the shirt to Mike Borden and he gave it back? Let's find out. It appears that Borden was perhaps not in possession of the missing garment for the last 3 decades, but may have been connected to the source who was then secured it before returning it to the family. Our only regret is Ray isn't here to see it. Ray Burton, Cliff's father, died on January 5th, 2020 at the age of 94. That's sad. He was a huge fan of his son, too. Over the decades, he and the Burton family remained close with the members of Metallica, and Ray attended a handful of the show's worldwide tour and posed for photos with the metal icons. And there it is. There's Mike Borden, and he's holding that shirt, Dawn of the Dead. The Burton family patriarch also promoted community goodwill with Cliff's honor and donated the Metallica royalties the family still earns to a scholarship program. So Metallica's still kicking him out because he was on the best albums, right? He was on the best of the best. One thing I will say is that all there is to be, yeah, because Jim Martin, a guitar player that was no longer in Faith No More, but I did see Faith No More open for Metallica. It was on the And Justice for All tour. So, however that shirt ended up in his possession, who will know? But I was going to say, the Jim Martin, there's one of them Faith No More videos where he's wearing a tribute to Cliff Burton's shirt. I want to say it's the Falling to Pieces video or whatever. But one more thing here, those viral images. Oh my God. It says viral storm photo includes doctored image of Iron Maiden's Eddie mascot from Brave New World, from the Brave New World cover. And that looks just like it there. If you're looking at this, you can see the storm clouds, and somebody just kind of photoshopped that in. They did a pretty good job. That'd scare the piss out of you, wouldn't it? If you're at the park there kicking the soccer ball around and you saw that Eddie face come out of the clouds like that. I just want to read this quickly. According to USA Today, an image on social media purporting to show a skull face formed by clouds during the recent storm in Arkansas is actually a doctored image combining the Iron Maiden album cover art with a photo of a 2019 storm in Pennsylvania. So it's not even in the same damn place. A December 10th Facebook post. Facebooking my friends, what you eating, what you doing, how's your life? Containing the altered photo was accompanied by a caption claiming, "My sister took this picture of this today in the Lake Village, Arkansas, while I was fixing her roof. Look at the detail of the picture. If you turn the picture upside down and zoom in on it, you'll see Jesus in the middle with his arms wide open. If this is not a good enough sign, then y'all better get right with the Lord. It's so crazy how he gives us signs, but we're too blind to see." I'm blind, now I see. The post was shared nearly 6,000 times. Nobody looked at that and said, that might be fake. 6,000 shares, no one said, that looks just like Eddie. Does anyone remember that image when the 9/11 with the smoke? And I remember seeing it on one of those what do you call those magazines that tell all the fake stories and stuff? But it had like a demon's face in it. I was like, oh my God, look, there's the devil in the clouds. The human eye is trained to see things. You know that? Where our eyes are, I don't know what they call that, but it's where your eyes, your brain and your eyes are looking for shapes, facial features and stuff. That's why you lay down when you're at Grandma and Nana's house and you're sitting out on the hill there in the grassy and you're having yourself a popsicle and you'd look up at the clouds and you'd say, I can see an elephant and I can see this and I can see that, because your brain's looking for the similarities in facial. USA Today points out grinning skull-like face in the manipulated image comes from the cover design of Maiden's Brave New World. While the image of the clouds during a storm was taken in Pennsylvania. I guess that's all there is to that. The same photo was previously posted on Facebook in June 2019 by someone claiming it was a real picture taken in California with no edit. That time, the post was shared more than 164,000 times. Yeah. That would freaking horrify me. This guy's going, I was out fixing my sister's roof, so just let that be let that be a note to you about stuff like that, okay? It's like, that'd freaking horrify me, especially if the mouth opened. I'd say, oh yeah, oh God, here's the end. So that's all I've got for this. We're going to put old the ghosty guy back up here. Trying to get right and get healthy. I'm about 85% now. Do everything you can to protect yourself, fine folks, because whether you, the ins and outs of all this shit, just think of it as a terrible flu that you're going to get. And try to do everything you can to not get it if you can. That's all I got swinging in. And thank you for joining me for Jive Talkin with Shane Diablo. Have a good one, okay? Take care. I want the best of both worlds, honey. I know what it's worth if we could have the best of both worlds.